last game of the year is the Blues versus the
Yeah.
Force of
I
the
thought we got
year.
more.
Well,
Yeah.
of the Forces year, I think it'll be game over for them after this one.
Yeah, that's right.
I had to save it some way. New injuries, Alex Hodgman, straight in, straight out, dislocated shoulder, looks pretty bad. I don't think we'll see him for some time now. James Lay off with a hamstring injury as well. Obviously, one of the other front rowers to go down early in the game. Folau Fainga'a was pulled pre-game. We're not really sure why. Ryan McCauley as well was subbed late in the game for Feleti Kaitu'u. So I can only assume that that means it's an injury because you don't normally sub a hooker for a lock. Not exactly the same kind of profile of body. And then returning, Ofa Tu'ungafase missed last week with a concussion. And we're thinking, if anything, maybe Fanga, considering he was coming back from a concussion, could have been like some symptoms arose in the day or something. That seems like the most likely thing, but who knows? If that is the case, then, you'd expect him back, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I think for me, that seems like they've gone, okay, maybe something's not right. Let's just pull them from this week. Kaitu'u can still fill the impact role and we'll bring in Horton. About the thing with Horton as well, it's not outlandish for them to go, let's shift him to the back row and shift one of their sixes, who am I thinking, across into lock as well if they have any questions. But yeah, it seems a little bit odd with Macaulay that getting pulled. It is a little bit odd. But we're expecting potentially some rest weeks for the Blues, which is very helpful for the Force. Maybe we have Christie, we've got Barrett, we've got Clark, we've got Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, we've got Ioane, and maybe Perifeta. Are these guys that are going to get rests because they have the Chiefs next week? So you're not going to rest these guys against the Chiefs. So maybe we're basically seeing an entire new back line, pretty much an entire new back line for them.
I mean, let's be honest, I've still got Mark Talea in there with that because he missed round 3.
So
So
we've still got an entire back line. Yeah,
that's an entire back line. That's about 3 tries. It's about 200 run meters. So, yeah, I think they'll be okay, to be honest. But, we've got, if they do roll the dice and change that much, which I really think they will, because I think they'll back themselves to win anyway, just like they did against the Tars late last year. I think they'll go Fornaki at 9, Perifet at 10, Evans and Heem in the centres, which I'm excited to see Evans, so I do hope that's what they do. AJ Lamb, Mark Talea on the wings, and Zahn Sullivan at fullback. They could play Plummer at 10, but I think he's still coming back from an injury, not 100% sure there. But I think Franchise is probably the only one that you might see miss next week's game instead, and he can kind of steer the ship for the Blues this week and add the experience.
Yeah, I think that's a really good shout. That's probably the back line I think we see. And Sullivan then gets couple runs in a row at fullback, something that he's deserved. He had some really good cracks there throughout last year as well. But yeah, look, Mark Talea has been absolutely untouchable. No one in this Force side will be able to shut him down, is my opinion. Everyone talks about Hamish Stewart being a good defender. Well, if he can shut down Talea, I'll admit that he is a brilliant defender because no one can shut this guy down.
No, I don't think anyone can either. And look, I don't think Hamish Stewart's going to get the opportunity, to be honest. I'm more worried about him running at the back 3. My question marks are Ricky Riccitelli at hooker. He's been the first choice so far, seemingly all year. Is he rated above Kurt Eklund? I feel like he is. I just don't really know why.
I do not understand what's going on with Kurt Eklund. Kurt Eklund has been so good for them and one of their best players that is not getting All Blacks call-ups for the last couple of years. So all of a sudden, we like Riccitelli, don't get me wrong, but all of a sudden to drop him down without a poor run of form or something else there, or maybe he's carrying a niggle or something's going on, because it just seems really odd for me. We do like Riccitelli, but geez, it's not right, I don't think.
No. And then Big Sauce, he got shifted back to the bench last week. Adrian Choate started, who's normally an open side, playing a blind side. Surely Big Sauce, goes back to 6. Choate goes to 7. Papali'i maybe gets another rest, but I think he's already missed 1.
Yeah, I think he has had a rest. Choate's a relatively bigger body, 7, isn't he? Like if we look at what his stats were, we had Robinson starting last week, did we not?
2 weeks ago we did, not
2 weeks
last
ago.
week.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one to see who they think adds, maybe more to what they want to see. I don't reckon you rest Papali'i again, to be honest.
He hasn't been rested. I just double checked. I'm wrong. He's actually played all 4.
Okay, well there you go. Maybe that's your answer for you, and we do see Choke go into 7, but he has played a lot at blindside for them as well. 190 centimeters, 100 kilos. He's not big for a 6, but he's also a bigger body at 7.
Yeah. For the Western Force, I've got Folau Fainga'a hopefully back for them. I think he adds another element to their rolling maul. I say that despite Horton scoring on the weekend from another rolling maul, but I just think that maybe this is going to be a bit harder of a game to do that. Kaitu'u, I think he'll be above Horton. I think you'd written down in the notes that are they seeing him as the impact hooker? I don't think so. I think he was coming back from a hammy injury, and they probably didn't want to play him for 80 minutes, to be honest, or 60 minutes. So they're probably just trying to ease him back in. Big point for me, and this is a sore point. I was going to have a rant last week. If Manasa Mata'ele is not starting, I think Simon Cron doesn't actually want to win games. Now, I fully understand that Mata'ele has been a bit underdone this year, and I know he had an Achilles tendon overload type issue to start the season as well, but the man is a genius. Give him the ball. It's like the team play, like the tactics don't even actually revolve around getting the ball to him. It's ridiculous. He didn't have a single opportunity since he started with the ball in space.
The funny thing is, I don't think he's genius. I think he's just phenomenal ball in hand. He's not the
thing, mate. He's a genius with ball in hands.
It doesn't matter what's in front of him. He can run through him. But the funny thing is, like, maybe we're seeing what we kind of are seeing from, not that this is what I really think about them, from Vunivalu this year, who's very, very good with ball, but seems to not be there getting the ball. Like if Vunivalu was looking for the ball coming in the center and working hard, he'd be getting it. Whereas we've seen Mata'ele do that last year, and we didn't really see it from him in this first month. I don't know why he isn't looking for it. I don't know if it's, tactics from the side, and they've gone, we want you to stay in the wing. If so, Ron sucks as a coach. Bring the guy in, let him play loose. But, maybe he is a little bit underdone, and that's why he's ended up on the bench. And maybe he isn't looking for the ball, and it's not just on the team around him. But, I mean, if he's okay, you just give the guy the ball. It's not that complicated. Or you bring his brother in. He's got the same last name. Let him run around.
That's true. Yeah. Surely he's got to be just as good. The other one for me was Gareth Simpson. I thought he looked pretty good, except for one box kick where he snapped at it and looked pretty rush and pretty average, and not exactly what you'd expect from an English-style footy player. Born in South Africa, played for the Worcester Warriors, and then had signed in Feb for a 2-year deal with Saracens. They immediately sent him out on loan for the year for the Western Force, and he'll link back up with them at the end of the year. Did set up a couple of tries, but I've just got to ask the question, why the hell is he here? He's a project player for Saracens, and instead we're now starting him at the Western Force. Like, he's the third choice halfback. Develop someone else. We don't want this guy. He's leaving at the end of the year. It makes absolutely no sense from a development point of view for the Western Force. It's just, again, the hired gun tactics that they seem to like to revolve through. And it just adds credibility to the fact that Simon Cron's losing it, mate. First Manasa Mata'ele. Now there's some Gareth Simpson development player who's getting starting game time in a side that has 2 established halfbacks. I don't get it.
Look, I don't think he's not a project player. He's 25 years old and he's been about for a while, but he's not the guy for them for the future in any way, shape or form. I don't think Pryor is either. Yes, Pryor's been there for a long time and he's experienced. That's all well and good, but Isaac Fines, give this guy the starting jersey week in, week out. If you want to give Simpson a run, give him a run off the bench, behind Fines. Make him earn it at least. There is some real questions for the Force for me. Thrush was never the answer. Simpson is not the answer unless you're just somehow looking for a 1-week win, which makes little sense unless they really thought that the Highlanders, they saw something from him that could get them that win. It's odd. I'd be starting Fines definitely above him. It is odd for me. He looked promising. He had a couple try assists. That little shift to the left and then step back right and a little chip over the top that led to a try for Kiribiji. Anyone that they can find from overseas, they're going to start. That sounds like, except for Matteoli at the moment. So
yeah, big question mark. I really worry about what they're doing over there. The Melbourne Rebels have shown so much right about how to develop a team, try and get your pathways stronger, stick through it and try and bring your players through the development system. And the Western Force continually act as a hired gun, bringing in these random players that aren't big names anywhere and then pick them above their own. Like, it's no wonder why they have so much turnover every week. I'm losing faith in the Western Force. That's all I can say.
Tia from New Zealand, Kiribiji from England. They brought in Kunsul, who was at Brumbies not long ago, but he's filling roles. Stewart there, they brought in as a 10, playing 12. Pulu, they brought in. Matteole, they brought in. Hegarty, it's his first year there. Simpson's just come across on loan. Warren Bosse-Arthur, they've brought in, who was at the TARS development squad a couple of weeks ago when they got Pugh there. Callan, local boy, awesome. Wells been there for a couple of weeks, but geez, I was listing from 15 forward. I wasn't randomly picking players. And they're either first year, they're not going to be there long term, they're not building for the future. There is question marks, because if they're not building for the future, they're not winning now, what are they doing?
I don't know, mate. I'm worried. I think Simon Cron's got a big job ahead of him. I don't think he realised how big the job is. I think he thought he could come in here and motivate the boys and put them together, but mate, that's not what this is. I think they're in big trouble.
Yeah, this is building for the future. This is building the Dolphins in the NRL, mate. You're starting from scratch, what it feels like.
Dolphins won 3 from 3, mate. It's not the Dolphins.
Yeah, no, but that's because they picked the right people.
Right. All right. Okay. Right.